Hello everyone. Welcome to the Blockchain News Club. Let's take a brief intro into today's crypto updates before going into the details. According to the chat messages, Binance staff approached Gary Gensler to become an advisor, but Gensler declined. He was generous in sharing license strategies, said Harry Joe, an employee of Binance. Brad Garlinghouse said that crypto players have already started moving outside the US en masse to avoid the regulatory sledgehammer of the SEC. The CEO of Ripple Labs has warned of the harm to the crypto industry if the US Securities and Exchange Commission is able to prevail in its lawsuit against Ripple over XRP. Ripple's senior advisor for CBDC and global partnerships, Antony Welfare, has lifted the veil of secrecy on the company's so-called state cryptocurrency projects. Ripple on Friday filed a supplemental letter in the U.S. District Court supporting its motion in the ongoing lawsuit with the SEC. David Schwartz, Ripple's chief technical officer, stated that he agrees that transaction fees should reflect the actual cost a transaction imposes on the network. The XRPL community remains divided on the proposal to raise transaction fees in order to boost the price of XRP. Before we dive deep into today's updates, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please hit the subscribe button. It will help us a lot. Texts from crypto giant Binance reveal plan to elude US authorities. Binance mostly ran from hubs in China and then Japan, but a fifth of its customers were in the US, where authorities said they were going to crack down on offshore crypto players who didn't follow the rules. In a 2019 private chat, a Binance executive told his colleagues that a lawsuit from US regulators would be like nuclear fallout for the company and its officers. Messages and documents from 2018 to 2020 show that Binance made a plan to keep the US government from bringing charges against it. The plan was to build a simple American platform called Binance US that would use Binance's technology and brand but look completely separate from Binance.com in every other way. It would keep US regulators from checking out the bigger Binance.com exchange, which would mean that US users couldn't use it. US have been much more connected than the companies have said. They have shared staff, finances, and an entity that bought and sold cryptocurrencies. If US regulators decide that these connections mean Binance has control over a US company, they could claim the right to monitor Binance's whole business, which has been a mystery to many investors since the beginning. Changpeng Zhao, the billionaire founder and CEO of Binance, and his money would also be looked at more closely. At least since 2020, the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Justice Department have been looking into the relationship between Binance, which doesn't list a headquarters, and Binance US. This is based on subpoenas and information from people who know about the situation. The Justice Department and the SEC both said that they had nothing to say. The quick fall of FTX changed the way US regulators look at things, and they are now working hard to control the $1 trillion cryptocurrency market. Patrick Hillman, Binance's chief strategy officer, said last month that the exchange expects to pay fines to end US regulatory and law enforcement investigations into its business. A Binance spokeswoman said, "We know that we didn't have enough rules and controls in place in the beginning. When it comes to compliance, we are a very different company now." A Binance US spokeswoman said, "Binance US was created to serve US customers with products and services that follow US rules and regulations." The journal said that the SEC has also been looking into the relationship between Binance US and Merit Peak Limited and Sigma Chain AG, two trading firms with ties to Mr. Zhao. Gary Gensler taught at MIT from 2018 to 2021. During that time, several private companies, including Binance, asked him to be an advisor, but he turned them down, a person close to him said. Mr. Gensler met Binance's founder in Tokyo in March 2019 and then interviewed him over video for an MIT cryptocurrency class the following summer. It is said that he was willing to share license strategies with others. In April 2021, Mr. Gensler took over as chair of the SEC. The SEC is why the crypto industry is increasingly going overseas. In a new interview, Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, said that the US Securities and Exchange Commission's strict rules on cryptocurrencies could slow down the growth of this new industry. Garlinghouse said that crypto players have already started moving outside the US to avoid the SEC's heavy-handed regulations. This is the same thing that the CEO of Coinbase, one of the largest crypto exchanges in the US, said before Garlinghouse. The problem is that the SEC failed to make clear rules here in the US, so many American investors and 95% of trading activity went overseas, Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong said after the FTX collapse last November. Garlinghouse says that the US is at a point where it might not be able to host the next wave of innovations in blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Instead, he says, there is a serious risk that it will lose out to foreign countries that don't stifle the sector with rules and enforcement. He said that Australia, the UK, Japan, Singapore, and Switzerland were among the few places with clear rules of the road and that these places were ready to take in the crypto firms that were leaving. Ripple CEO warns of harm to crypto industry if SEC wins lawsuit over XRP. The CEO of Ripple Labs said that if the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission wins its lawsuit against Ripple over XRP, it will hurt the crypto industry. He warned that the SEC's plan to regulate crypto by focusing on enforcement is not a healthy way to regulate an industry. In an interview with Bloomberg on Thursday, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse warned that the crypto industry could be hurt if the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission wins its case against him and his company over the sale of XRP. The SEC's lawsuit against Ripple was not just about Ripple or XRP. It was really about the industry as a whole, Garlinghouse said. Saying that the SEC is going on the attack and going on the offensive against the whole crypto industry. The Ripple CEO said, "This is going to be pivotal for the whole industry." He also said that more enforcement will be done against crypto firms if the SEC is able to win in its lawsuit against XRP. The Securities and Exchange Commission recently took action against Kraken and Paxos because of their staking programs and the release of Binance USD by Paxos. Also, Gary Gensler, the head of the SEC, thinks that all crypto tokens except for Bitcoin are securities. Using the SEC's focus on enforcement as an example of how it regulates the cryptocurrency industry. The macro headline for me is this is not a healthy way to regulate an industry. The executive from Ripple then went on to explain that the SEC's focus on enforcement is different from how other countries regulate cryptocurrencies. We can see that people in other countries know how to do their jobs. They are making rules. They are making a set of rules that will help an industry grow while keeping consumers safe. Ripple advisor sheds light on private XRP Ledger and CBDC projects. Antony Welfare, Ripple's senior advisor for CBDC and global partnerships, has taken the cover off of the company's state cryptocurrency projects. Welfare says that the projects that are being worked on with Bhutan and Palau are at a very advanced stage right now. The Ripple advisor said that private versions of XRP Ledger are being used to work on these and other CBDC or stablecoin projects. When asked if XRP could be used as a bridge currency for CBDC exchanges between private networks of different states, the advisor did not answer directly. Still, he said that any private XRPL chain could be connected to the main one, which would make all CBDCs cross-border. Private XRP and XRPL Welfare's answers were a continuation of a conversation that started yesterday on Twitter about private XRP and XRPL. Today says that some community members have accused Ripple management of making private XRPL chains and a special private XRP and then using them for their own gain. Doubters say that the price of this private XRP is different from the price of the token on the market. Matt Hamilton, who used to be the director of developer relations at Ripple, also disproved this idea. Even though CBDC and stablecoin projects have their own private XRPL chains, the developer says there is only one XRP, and it is only on the main chain. Hamilton came to the conclusion that private XRP could either exist in a completely separate system or that its price would be influenced by market forces. XRP lawsuit sees biggest twist yet as recent Supreme Court ruling supports Ripple's fair notice defense. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission's enforcement action against Ripple, a blockchain company based in San Francisco, is a bad idea. On Friday, there was yet another new development in the case. Ripple said in court documents that the recent ruling in Bittner v. United States supports their fair notice argument. Ripple sent a new letter to the U.S. District Court on Friday to back up its motion in the ongoing case with the SEC. Ripple pointed out that the Supreme Court's decision in the Bittner case on Tuesday, which limits the government's ability to fine American taxpayers who don't report foreign bank accounts, made it clear that the SEC didn't give fair notice before taking its enforcement action. In the Bittner case, the Supreme Court said, a fair warning should be given to the world in language that the average person can understand about what the law plans to do if a certain line is crossed. During the pretrial phase of the SEC versus XRP lawsuit, Ripple's lawyers proved that the SEC didn't give fair notice not just about XRP, but about all crypto assets. When Ripple said it wanted to file a fair notice defense, the SEC quickly filed a number of documents to stop the company. The court did let Ripple explain its fair notice defense, but only after a while. This defense says that the SEC did not tell Ripple that what it was doing was illegal before it went to court. The company said that the U.S.'s top financial cop had failed to set up a clear framework for how securities laws should be applied to the rapidly growing crypto industry. This, the company said, caused regulatory uncertainty in the market. Ripple has asked the judge in charge, Annalisa Torres, to take the Supreme Court's decision into account when deciding whether Ripple and its current and former CEOs, Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson, broke the law by selling the XRP cryptocurrency as an unregistered security and raising more than $1.3 billion. The person who started the news site Crypto Law, John E. Deaton, who is also a friend of the court in the XRP case, recently said that people in the market think Ripple sent this letter now because they know the SEC will win. Deaton points out that the decision by the U.S. Supreme Court was just made 4 days ago. He says that this court decision backs up Ripple's claim that the lack of fair notice breaks the Constitution's due process clause. Deaton says that the recent Supreme Court decision gives the company's fair notice defense a few more teeth if District Judge Torres decides that Ripple sold XRP as an unregistered security. The lawyer said again that he thought the current Supreme Court would rule in favor of Ripple. Even though the lawsuit from the EPA in West Virginia is reason enough to think Ripple will win the long-running legal battle, the latest decision from the Supreme Court is the proverbial cherry on top of the sundae for the company's case. Judge Torres should decide about the lawsuit soon, but it could take up to 2 months. Still, if the judge goes through with the summary judgment, the court's decision will have a big impact on which cryptocurrencies should be considered securities under U.S. federal securities laws. Ripple CTO reacts to XRP fee hike proposal. The XRP community is having a heated discussion about a plan to raise transaction fees to make the controversial token more valuable. The conversation started when a Twitter user named NetNelch suggested that transaction fees should go up based on how much money is being moved. This would increase the value of XRP. Ripple's chief technical officer, David Schwartz, replied to the proposal by saying that he agrees that transaction fees should be based on how much a transaction actually costs the network. But the person who designed the XRP ledger didn't agree with the idea of using transaction fee destruction as a way to artificially drive up the price of XRP. Schwartz went on to say that the XRPL's benefit is that it can confirm transactions quickly and for a low cost. Still, he thinks that node operators shouldn't pay for transactions that aren't worth as much as they cost. Schwartz says that if the transaction fee is lower than the real cost of a transaction, running the transaction could destroy value and make people less likely to run nodes. If, on the other hand, the fee is higher than the cost, there would be extra trouble. Chris Thompson joined the conversation on Twitter and said that the fee would have to be big enough to stop a certain transaction. He asked if it was necessary to add a heavy transaction type to discourage its use. Schwartz replied that the XRP ledger already has a better way to deal with the problem. If the transaction is too big for the node to handle, the node can just flag it off, which stops it from happening. The XRPL community is split on the idea of raising transaction fees to raise the price of XRP. The discussion is still going on, and it remains to be seen if any changes will be made to the way XRPL transaction fees are set up. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel for regular updates in the blockchain community.